Welcome to another Tell Me a Story. It's brought to you by the Friends of the Sandwich Town Archives, otherwise known as Foster. It is June 30th, 2025. The town, of course, is gearing up for 4th of July. And from the streets and the way the traffic is right now, I am pretty certain we're going to have a very busy summer, which is nothing different for us.
Nope.
I'm so pleased. I'm very pleased to have with me today the Govoni family. Mary Walsh Govoni and two of her and Louie's children, Joe Govoni and Jen Govoni. And this is going to be a little different, this interview, because guess what? Out beyond your view are two other Govoni brothers who will be coming in to talk to us too at a certain point. That would be Jeff and Jim Govoni. So we welcome them, and we're sure that they're going to have a lot of good stories to tell also. I want to start today with Mary. And I know that she has the most lovely, funny, poignant story to tell about her meeting her husband to be, Louie Govoni, who I do need to say has passed in 2000, Mary, correct?
Yes.
But the family had wonderful times together prior to that. Mary, it's sort of like a title to a movie, Mary Meets Louie.
Well,
can you share with us your story?
It was February in 1959, and it was George Washington's birthday.
Ah.
And we had, some girlfriends and I had gone to a movies. I can't tell you the name of the movie. That's gone.
That's gone.
But on Main Street Hyannis at the Center Theater. And one of the girls' brother was supposed to pick us up.
Listen, I'm going to interrupt you. Where did you grow up? Where were you from at that point?
I grew up in Centerville.
Gotcha.
My whole family, there were 6 of us. But anyways, it was a rare treat to get to the movies because none of us had cars. So, you know, we were going to be dropped off, and the brother was supposed to pick us up. So after the movie, we came out, no brother. So we walked down to where Martin's Bakery was in Dumont's Pharmacy on Main Street.
Oh, yes.
And we were making a phone, going to call to get a ride home. Well, he wasn't there. So nobody was answering the phone. So my house, we didn't have a phone, so there was no sense of calling there. So we walked down Main Street, and along comes this yellow station wagon down Main Street. And they stopped to talk to the girls.
Sure.
So they said, you know, what are you doing? I said, well, the other girls wouldn't speak up, but I spoke up, and I said, we're trying to get a ride home. I said, we're looking for somebody that we know. So he said, well, Lou was the driver. It was his car, his parents' car. He said, I'll give you a ride home. And I said, I can't. I can't ride with you. I can't, absolutely can't. My mother and father will kill me. Kill me, because I don't know you.
Yeah.
So along comes Nancy Bryden, who had lived in Sandwich and had moved to Centerville. So I had met her. So she came along and she knew the guys. So she introduced, I said, introduce me to these guys? So she said, sure. So she introduced me to the guys. And I said, okay, now I can take a ride home.
Now it's okay.
Now, little did I know, you know, but at that point, I didn't know if I'd ever see him again. Well, the next day or 2 days later, I look out the kitchen window at home and I see the car cruising up and down the street trying to figure out where I lived. So I said to my mother, I have to go to the newsstand. So I went down to the newsstand. The rest is history. It went on from there.
So you dated
we were together 3 years.
Yes, because you were younger than Louie, were you?
No, same age.
Same age, okay.
I went to his graduation, he came to my graduation. I couldn't believe it was 17 kids in his class.
Yes.
And I had 120-something kids in my class. It was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, you gotta be kidding, yes, yeah.
You know, but it was different. The Cape was very different back then. Sandwich was a very, very, very small town. And they all knew everybody, but we almost didn't know it existed. I mean, we knew it existed, but we never went through it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yeah,
it was like,
Well, you
So-
didn't have a car.
oh no,
No. So you didn't, even though you were, when did you graduate? What year?
59.
59.
Yeah.
So you were what?
I was 17,
17.
turning 18. Yeah.
Okay.
And I
So
got married when I was 20.
you okay, yeah. So I mean, you didn't even have a car to drive into Sandwich.
No,
Okay.
not until, I went away to college and I left college and I went to work at a bank, excuse me, in Hyannis. And that's when I got a car. I got a 1946 Chevy.
No. Okay.
But then I found out how to get to Sandwich.
Okay. Yes. Well, because you were dating Louis. Yes. Yeah. So he would come and pick you
Yeah,
up.
he'd come pick me up. And the
Okay.
first date was the Sagamore Inn
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
The Sagamore Inn
for pizza.
for pizza. Wasn't the pizza wonderful?
It was wonderful, and it was very inexpensive. So
Yes,
we
in
could
those
do this.
days. Yeah. Yeah. And as you say, the rest is history.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. So you and Louis had 4 children.
Yes. The
Tell me a
oldest
little bit-
being Joe, who
Yep.
was always, he was a good boy, but
Oh boy.
he was always into everything, And then Jim, who was my artist.
Yep,
and-
we'll be seeing him.
Yeah, and Jeff, he was the baby boy, but he was very talented artist too, and I didn't know it.
Oh.
So, which I really kind of feel bad about that because
Because
two
you
of them
kept on
could-
saying that Jim
how
was
good
the
his
artist.
was. Yeah, the
Yeah.
other one was. So,
Yeah.
But and then along came Jennifer. God bless
Your
me
girl.
with my daughter.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
he did. I mean,
Yeah.
I was very lucky.
Yes.
So, and then we lived in the house for God, how many years? 28 years on Java Street.
Yes. Yes. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But prior to that, though, could we talk, Joe and Jen, could we talk about, because I love to do this, how the Govoni family came to America, came to Sandwich, and what you know about that?
Sure. So our great-grandfather came over to work at the Cottage Park in Plymouth
From
Bologna, Italy.
from Italy. Okay.
Vernazzo, Italy. And a lot of people from his village, that area, had come.
Oh.
And he recruited a lot of people to come work. So a lot of the names you'll see, if you go up to that museum they have at Cottage Park, you'll recognize a lot of the names from Sandwich and Sagamore. So he came with his bride, right?
I don't think so. I thought the
No,
Ninis
they
were
were
already here.
Yeah, the Naninis were already here. So he
Up in
married,
Plymouth.
Okay.
our great-grandmother was Linda Nanini.
Okay.
She was from the same area
Yeah.
In
Yes.
Italy.
in
Yes.
Italy.
Right.
And they married, they were living in Plymouth with their 3 sons, who our grandfather was one of, when he bought what became the Daniel Webster Inn.
Sorry.
Go ahead. He can correct me.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so he first owned a pool hall down by the tracks in Sandwich.
Oh,
That was the first property.
Yeah, because the first house was there.
Yeah.
on Java Street.
On Java Street, right by the tracks.
Okay, yep.
And then in 1916, our great-grandfather, Louis Albert Govoni, bought with a partner the Central House. He renamed it Daniel Webster Inn.
Your grandfather did.
Great-grandfather.
Your great, excuse me, of course, your great
Great-grandfather.
grandfather. I always get the greats mixed up.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you'll
yeah.
probably-
But he was the great-grandfather. He and like Jen said, we're not sure like I don't know how long he worked at the Cottage. There was something like he was maybe a hiring agent. I'm not 100% sure about
Yes.
all that. And supposedly the reason the Cottage knew about Renazzo was the quality of the hemp there. So they bought hemp in that area of Italy for the rope making. And that's how they all got wind of the work in Plymouth,
Okay, because they were importing,
importing the hemp.
or exporting, I should say,
Yeah,
yes.
the people in Italy were exporting
Exporting, yes.
the hemp, and then, they were looking. Probably it wasn't that great economy there, or there was enough kids born that there was excess.
Sure,
And
sure.
so he was one of 3 that came over. Then, like, if you go to the Renazzo and you look at the streets of Renazzo, you'll see Gallerani, Lamborghini. You'll see the names on those streets. So the names here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gallerani, I mean, that is Sagamore.
Yeah.
Well, the Sagamore,
Yes.
and there was a lot of family connection in Sagamore too.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So then he came into town. By 1960, when he owned when he bought the Central House and named it the Daniel Webster, he already had 3 sons, and his youngest son would have been 12. So it was James Govoni was the oldest, and then Albert, our grandfather,
Yes.
and then Alfred.
Okay.
Those are the 3
Okay.
that were born.
So Albert being Louis' father.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, your father-in-law. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I love this story, because it really is, it talks about the immigrants coming up, which is such a topic now in America, coming over, in your
Yeah.
case, from Italy and settling in an area and, just enriching
Yeah.
that area, as they live there. It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, actually
it
both-
really is.
Right, actually both sides, because Albert, our grandfather, when he went to Norwich University, he was up there, but he ended up coming back because something happened with the family. I think it was,
His father died.
no, he wasn't dead yet, because he left Norwich. Maybe he got sick or something like that.
Sure.
My great grandfather died in 25, but he was already in college and out of college, because he was born in 1900, so he was up there in Norwich. He probably left because his father was sick or something or whatever. Came back back, and then he ended up meeting our grandmother, Mary Cheadle, in New Bedford. And that whole side of the family was all from Manchester, England, the shirt manufacturing.
Oh,
So they were all immigrants
Yeah.
too.
yes.
So it was 2 immigrant families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen, the Central House, of course, it was named the Central House before your great-grandfather
Yes.
named it the Daniel Webster Inn. But do you have, and Mary, pipe in on this too, do you have any stories about, that would be your great-grandfather's, owning the Daniel Webster Inn, because that in and of itself is such a gem, in Sandwich, and such an historical
Yeah.
setting.
What I know is that basically it was our grandfather, Albert, that was the cook.
Okay.
And that our great-grandfather kind of was letting his children run the business.
It went to Jim.
Yeah, well, eventually when our great-grandfather died, it went to their oldest son, Jim. But
that was
he
the typical thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, primogeniture.
yes,
When-
correct.
yeah.
But what I know is that it was always our grandfather that did the cooking,
Right.
Yes.
and that was his thing. He was known for how well he cooked his.
Yes, he was. And your grandmother. Talk about your grandmother.
So she was always at the front of the house,
Yep.
sort of greeting people. And
What was her name?
She was, well, we called her Ma, but her name was
Sure.
Molly.
Molly, yes.
She was very sweet, very, very religious, very quiet. I think by the time I came along, I'm the youngest, she had already started to suffer from Alzheimer's.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was a lot that my brothers probably knew her a little better, but even then, I don't know exactly when she started to slip. But she was always just a very gentle, kind woman.
Yes.
And really, sometimes the 4 of us kids could be a bit much for her.
yeah. So now, Louis, your husband, I imagine, worked at the Daniel Webster as he was growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He did the typical, but I think he probably was a little bit of a nudge on foot, too,
A what?
A nudge.
Oh, was he? Okay.
No, he helped. He did more at the Peters Pond Club.
Okay.
I think.
Yes.
'cause
He was younger.
He was very young.
Yes,
Because
at the
when he
Dan-
left the Daniel Webster, he was, must have been 5, because he went to kindergarten at the Seneca, which was run by the nuns in Osterville.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where they did the Wiano Club over there. He ran it. Pappy did.
Okay.
His father.
Okay. Pappy being
Albert.
Albert.
Albert,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do I recall correctly that with the Daniel Webster that they actually had sort of a, if you will, almost a farm in back of it? to chickens and whatever that
They did.
supplied some of the food for the restaurant. Yeah.
And they had a Pajang who, I don't know what his claim to fame was as far as the family was concerned. I think he was just another Italian that they had come in to help.
Okay.
But he lived at the Webster, and he did a lot of that. And at one point they thought he died. They went in and he didn't seem to be breathing.
Oh.
And they got the priest in to give the last rites, and he came to and said some choice words to the priest.
To the priest? Oh
that
boy.
He was not dead. He was. So that's one of those stories that,
Yes.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
They called him Pajang.
Okay, Pajang. Okay.
I don't know what.
Okay,
that
Italian
means.
probably too.
Well, he
Who
also
knows?
was up. He came from the region that was up near the other countries.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yugoslavia.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
These are the questions Charlie will have. Charlie Van Busker will give you much more
Oh
color.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We had a wonderful. I hope some of the people watching this video saw the interview with Charlie Van Busker,
Yeah.
who was a dear friend
Yeah.
of your father's. And so Charlie knew. I mean, he was friends with
he's-
Louis since he was like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, he spent many hours at the Daniel
At the
Webster.
Daniel
So
Webster,
he remembers a lot. He remembers Pajang, I believe, also.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember hearing that story and I could laughing because I thought, oh my God, I can see the priest there.
Hearing
Can
the
you
last
imagine
rites
his
of-
eyes opening up?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are going to. I think our video with Charlie was like 45 minutes, or something like that. But he only got to. It was so funny because at the end, Charlie said, "Well, I've only got to 1941." So we are going to ask him back. He's coming on this summer again,
Yeah, he is.
and we'll have him fill in the gaps. I know that from our earlier conversation that other townspeople that worked at the Daniel Webster would share with you the stories of them working at the Daniel Webster. Can you share any of those stories? I know one of them from your conversation with me was Louise Lambert Pola. Had a lot of stories. Can you share just a few of those?
Louise and Freddie both had their share of stories, I believe, because they both
Yes.
worked there over the
Okay,
years.
Louise's husband,
Yeah,
Freddie Pola. Yeah.
But Louise also babysat Lou as a little boy. So it was. They were very. But what
She came over after our grandmother
Yeah.
died and shared quite a few stories.
Oh,
With
did
you,
she?
yeah.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
and she talked about one time going and after the night was done at the Webster, closing everything down, and then they went skinny dipping. And my grandmother was right in the thick of it, and what a time they had. And that
Where?
I don't know, but she said that
Sean
she-
Paul.
Jump on, maybe.
she was she could be quite the life of the party, which was very opposite of the woman that I knew. So that was quite
Oh,
interesting
yeah.
to hear.
So
that she,
Louise brought out that part of her.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
that,
yes.
as sort of the host of the restaurant, she often made her way around the tables and
Yes.
was very engaging with the guests. And,
Yes.
and that at the end of the night, when they blew off steam, she was right
She would-
there.
she would
and
blow off steam,
She
yeah.
blew off the steam. So, which
Yeah.
was funny to hear.
You had mentioned at one time that you had a couple sort of, your great-grandfather Albert had a couple sort of important people that visited or ate at the Daniel Webster. I'm thinking of Honey Fitz. Can you tell that story?
I think, was it the Webster or the,
was some at the
club.
Webster and some at.
yeah.
At the Peters
But I think Fitz
There
would
was
have
a story about Honey Fitz. And
Yeah.
what did they call
But I
him?
think
The,
that would have been. Geez, I don't know, Jennifer.
the Pissing Fitzgeralds.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Because they would
Because
stop
they
there.
stopped there to go to the bathroom on their way down from Boston.
Oh,
You know,
okay,
so-
because he was the mayor of Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Fitzgerald.
yeah, right.
Yes, yeah, and JFK's
Yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah.
JFK.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he would stop at the
Yeah.
Daniel
At the
Webster,
Webster.
but not to eat.
No.
No,
No.
just to use the bathroom.
Just okay. So at a certain point,
That's a good one, Jake.
That gets me thinking. That would be probably before 6A or the Mid-Cape. So you're coming down Main Street.
yes,
That's what you're doing. and the DW was like a stop for years. Well, Central years and years and years, horses and all the whole bit.
Yeah, it was stagecoaches
Yeah,
and whatever.
stagecoach,
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So Honey Fitz probably was stopping there for a long while, even before it was
Yes.
the Daniel Webster Inn.
Yes, yeah, that could be.
Probably
That
Central
very
House.
well could be,
Yeah.
yes. At a certain point, your grandfather, Albert, sold the Daniel Webster. James, okay, because he was sort of the owner.
Yeah, it was primogeniture. James had it. I think the two had a falling out
I
too.
don't think James sold it.
No, it got passed on to his widow.
Passed the widow, yeah.
James had
Oh, okay.
remarried.
Yeah.
Okay, so James, being the oldest,
He had
was
it.
passed on to him
Yep.
by his father. Your grandfather, Albert, really was the one that managed it and kept it going, and his wife, Molly. At a certain point, the Daniel Webster was sold. What did your grandfather do then? What did Albert do then?
He went and went into business with, oh my God, I got to think of his name. Hines was his last name, and bought the Austral Manor.
Oh, the Oswald Manor.
Yeah, not the Manor. It was known as the
Austral Manor, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's why Dad was over there.
And he worked there. He had that for a couple of years.
Oh, he did?
And then the cottage on the pond, Peter's Pond, went up for sale. And so he decided he was going to go out on his own.
Okay.
He didn't have any partners in it. He just
Yeah,
did
that was his very
his
own.
very
Didn't
Okay.
like partners.
Didn't like, they could be troublesome.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
then and he built that up. It was quite a popular. I mean, they had a lot of famous people there. A lot of
so
the
let's talk
actors
about
and
that.
actresses.
Well, first let's talk about what was the Peters Pond Club, because it is no more, and it hasn't been for a while. I mean, I remember my parents talking about going there, and it was really the place to go back in the 40s, 50s.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
It's Lily property now, right? That's the Peters
No,
Pond
but the
Club.
town owns it now.
Who owns it?
It's Oak Crest Cove.
Oh, Crystal Cove. Ah,
Yes.
okay.
But it was
Hewlett
it
Packard,
was a
right,
very
Hewlett Packard.
popular restaurant. It was nice, and it was lovely inside.
Yes.
I mean, overlooking the pond,
Yep.
and they had the bar and the lounge, and they had the room that where the fireplace was. You guys never saw it, but there was a fireplace. There was a room like between the bar and the dining room. There was a room that you could just, I suppose, if you had to wait for your table,
Oh,
you
sure.
could sit in there because there was some easy chairs and a sofa and stuff. And they had, what was the saying, Jennifer, that you got printed out? that
Oh,
went
they had a
around?
poem around the top of the
Yeah.
wall. It was by Van Dyke. These are the things I prize and hold of deepest worth. The sun. It goes on, but at the end it finishes with, but above most of all, friendship and mirth.
Oh,
So it was
And
fitting.
that
Yes.
went right around the room. It
yes.
was nice.
Well, you're talking about a town that had maybe 2,000 people. Maybe.
Maybe.
Everybody knew everybody.
Right.
And everybody knew your grandfather, and I'm sure followed him. The Daniel Webster was sold. Do you know who it was sold to? James. Okay. Make it.
Oh, well, it wasn't sold. It was sold. The last time it was sold was when the people who owned it before Smelser.
Oh,
bought
Smelser.
it.
Okay.
And that was Mabel Draper
Oh, Mabel Draper. Okay.
owned it.
That name is familiar, but I
I
don't.
think they ended up in Buzzards Bay area or
Okay.
something. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. But I'm sure that your grandfather was so well known and so liked that I'm sure that a lot of people, followed him to the Peters Pond Club. Now, was it a club? Did you have to belong to it, or was that just the name of it?
I know they had. Caesar Alvisi was one of them. They had
They had like a board.
a board.
Oh, there was, like a
Yeah,
board
they
of
had-
directors or something.
Yeah, they had a board
Yes.
of directors. I know
Yes.
Caesar Alvisi was one of them. Probably, if I really sat and thought about it a really long time, I might pick a couple more names,
Yeah.
but I'm not.
Yeah.
But he was one of them.
Yeah,
I
and he
bet
had-
Linda could tell me.
Oh, Linda Alvisi.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh, yes,
I
her
bet
father.
She could tell me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had a great menu, as I understand.
Yeah.
Yes. lobster.
Yeah, they still, well, I don't know if they still anymore, but the Daniel Webster had a menu that we gave them.
Oh,
That they
They
you
do.
know,
It's-
not, oh, for the Webster, I'm sorry, it was.
For
it
the
was-
Webster,
it was the
okay.
Webster
Yeah,
menu. Do we
we
have a
have a-
menu for the?
We do have a
We have
menu
a
of
menu
the
for the
club.
Peters Pond Club too.
oh, you do?
Yeah.
You know, what's
up on
Sandwich Community TV does, which is wonderful. We're in the studio now. They're just great. After we do this video, we'll give them a number of pictures, and they will insert them in the video. And perhaps
Oh,
we
yeah.
can,
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
perhaps
yeah,
we
yeah.
can do
Yeah,
that.
Sure, we can get
yeah.
some together.
That's the best way to do it
then.
because you can edit it in where it
Yes,
fits right.
yes,
we've got a
yeah, they're
bar-
great at that.
Yeah.
We've got also a bar scene from the Daniel
You get a
Webster.
bar. Yep.
That's, so we should have to think about that.
Yep.
You did mention some famous people that actually stopped at the club, the Peters Pond Club, and you had a really, I think,
I'm not sure.
quite nice story, about Ted Williams.
Yeah, we did. I'm not sure if one of these guys would.
Jeff actually is
We
a
want
good
to
one.
we
with
want to
her-
save that story for the.
Yeah, let
Yeah,
Jeff
Okay,
so-
we'll save
Jeff,
the.
Jeff tells that one the best, I think.
Okay, okay. We won't take that from Jeff. Well, I think maybe what we might do now is maybe we might switch.
Switch out?
Do a switcherino here now.
Okay.
And we'll have Jim and Jeff come on, and we'll have Joe
Joe's going to stay.
stay. Joe's going to stay.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to say goodbye, but we'll
That's okay.
catch up with you at the end
Yeah,
too.
but
That's fine.
cool.
Well, the stage has changed. We have Jeff, Joe,
Right.
and Jim with us, Govoni. And that's a pleasure also. And the reason that they have joined us is Mary and Jen has told us that perhaps they know a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about now. And I'd like to just finish up before we get into living on Java Street, which you had a bird's eye view of everything that was going on in town during that time.
As did you.
Yeah. Can we just close up with the some stories about the Peters Pond Club? Because I think you have some knowledge about that, some fun stories.
Well, the story that you were talking about is one that my father told me. He probably told somebody else, but I remember him telling me that it was his story of how he met Ted Williams. So Ted Williams used to come to the Peters Pond Club, as did a lot of people. Like at some point, I think we have a Hedy Lamar's.
Lamar.
Oh, okay. We'll hear about that.
Yeah, she signed. I think all we have is her autograph on a menu.
Hedy Lamar.
Yeah, but Ted Williams. So Dad was kind of like had the run of the place. He was, I don't know, like a grade school kid
Sure.
at the time, and there was as I understand it, there was like a bathroom that did double duty as like a linen closet. So there was they had put a toilet at the end of a hallway.
Okay.
So and the door was always left open, and
Because it was a linen closet in front of it.
right.
I see.
So someone would come in and know not to go to the end of the hallway because someone might be using the toilet.
Okay.
And you could be hidden from view that way. And the way Dad tells it, he was sitting on the toilet, doing what one does on the toilet, and he hears the door open up, and he doesn't think anything of it because that's what happens sometimes.
Yes.
But then he hears his mother's voice saying, "Oh, you have to meet my son Louis." And now Dad's panicked, and he's getting himself off the toilet. And around the corner comes Ted Williams.
Oh.
And all he said was, "Hey, kid," and he walked away.
That's all he said. Hey, kid. No autograph or
No,
nothing.
I don't think that didn't seem like the setting was right. For
Yeah,
it.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. And Hedy Lamar.
It's a name on the menu.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
She signed her. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't authenticated it all the way. I didn't go, but I looked on Hedy Lamar's signature online. And
Yes.
It looks the same.
It looks the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dad said those people were always coming through. Supposedly it was a place to be. like known outside the Cape.
Yes, it must
Yeah.
have been. It must have been. It must have been sort of like a stop, you know, if you were going to the Cape or
There
further
was
down the Cape.
hunting and fishing on the Cape back then too. That was a popular tourist thing. So
That's
you
true.
know, there's a lot of that.
Probably like 130 has been there for a long time. Is that you're going down to the southern part of the Cape. You're coming from north, and you're going to go right by Peter's Pond Club. You're
Yeah.
gonna be right it's right there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it was a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, good business decision.
Yeah. Dad loved living out in Forestville.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that brings up sort of a segue to he didn't always live there. You bought a house in the center of town. What was the house?
4 Jarvis Street.
4 Java Street.
Yeah. So I don't. Albert didn't buy it. I think it was James, or maybe even the great grandfather. I've done some deed search, and it's pretty easy to do in Barnstable County, and I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Yep.
But it's been in the family for a long, long time, but obviously, sometime between 1895 and 1906 or something like that. That's when it came into the family, and they were living on both sides. There's
Okay,
two
'cause
sides.
There's 2 sides of the house.
Yeah.
So again, for people, it's 4 Java Street.
Right.
Okay.
4 Jarvis Street, and it's a duplex, so there's 4A and 4B.
Right.
And at different times over the years, one of the side, 4A had been an office building. It was like the Cape Cod Canal Company's building. There's a photograph on the FOSTA website, I think, showing.
Yes.
Growing
that.
up, it was there was some of the windows still had the glass, and I never thought much of it. But I'm like, I always thought it was kind of weird. But now, now knowing how the building was used at one time, of course they had, there were probably stenciled names on those windows.
Oh, yes.
sometimes.
When it was the Cape Cod
Right.
Construction
Yeah, but
Company,
they were
which,
like inside the house, like going from a bedroom door or something.
Yeah.
So.
oh, and that's still there, or at least it was,
It was
when
still
you,
there,
it was
yeah.
when you were still living there,
A
yes.
couple of doors, few of them.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
had been a boarding house. There was in the back of the house, there was a second-story exit door.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that then no longer was. I mean, Charlie, again, the great teller of stories, remembers like a fire escape
Going
up to the
going
second
up to it.
story. Yeah.
And the garage was a state barn at one
Yeah.
time, right?
Oh, yes. Tell us about that, Jim. The,
It was used as a utility barn for state vehicles and whatnot. They had grease pits on either side. We weren't gearheads, but it would have been perfect if we were gearhead. I mean,
We tried to get in them.
yeah, we were always.
We did.
There was an office in the back, where we found receipts and receipts and receipts about, I don't even know what it was. We were kids.
Oh
It
yeah,
was-
yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
So in back of your home,
Yep.
4 Java Street, I was going by to come here, and I looked to see it. You can't see it that well anymore, but
No.
there is a large building
Yep.
that you're saying at one point
It was a two-bay garage.
was
yeah.
as a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the town, or was it the state?
the
Or do
state.
we know?
State.
Word it was the state. Yeah.
It was a state highway.
We had some of the tools were left behind, and that was kind of like our yard cleanup tools and stuff. We thought those square shovels were like what everybody used.
Yeah. And it did have lifts or whatever so that they could work underneath.
A
No,
grease
pits.
pit. So
Oh, a pit. I got
get
you.
underneath
Yeah,
it,
you'd lift
yeah.
up. You lift up a big. I don't know really what it was. It wasn't like a board. It was really soaked board.
Yeah.
And
It
underneath
was
a pit.
soaked with oil. I
Yeah.
mean,
It was,
Yes, right. So now, your mother tells me, and this is why you're here, that you can tell the best stories about living on Java Street, growing up on Java Street, with your pals. Can you tell me something about the types of things that you did when you weren't in school?
Pick and choose.
Yeah.
We used to have the run. There was a lot of young families on Pleasant Street. So there's some
Yes.
people. So we had like big games called Chase. We would run all over the neighborhood and get on people's roofs. Sarah Bradley probably had to go look out the window sometimes. And why is there a Govoni kid on the roof? And it's,
There were almost no complaints. There were a few people that were like, "Hey, get off my roof!" But I mean, we were doing,
So you would hide on the roof with.
we do anything to get away from
use it
people.
as
Gotcha.
a shortcut.
Because there was
Yeah.
a game where you had to capture people and put them in jail.
Oh,
So you were
okay.
doing anything not to be near enough someone could get a hold of you.
I got
That wasn't
you.
free brawling. There was kind of rules, but you
Yeah,
know.
oh yeah, sort of
Yeah,
rules.
but close enough. But you ran all over town.
Yeah.
All over town.
So
clearing
who were some of the
fences.
kids that you would play with, would do this game?
Bobby and Danny Bangs.
The Bangses,
Yeah,
yep.
absolutely. Collinses.
Collins, Grabowski was on it.
The Howard brothers.
The Howard brothers,
yeah.
yep.
Right.
Yeah, they would be on Pleasant Street,
yeah.
yep. Yep.
I'm trying to think. It was full of kids.
There were summer kids too.
Sometimes
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just- yeah.
A lot
Summer
of
kids.
summer
A
kids.
lot of some,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The summer kids
Petro.
were that was the best time.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you, what year was this? What years were this, to give people some orientation to?
Late 60s to the late 70s.
Well,
I
more
mean.
like this.
No,
So
it'd be like
the way I
73.
think of it is, we were the tail end of when all the kids in Sandwich lived in the village of Sandwich. Like by the time we came along, a lot of them were kind of migrating out to the South Sandwich or Lakewood Hills, that kind
Getting
of
a
thing.
better home.
Yeah.
Or better insulation.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we were. It was quieting down by the time we came along in the 70s. But we still, they were still hanging the Christmas lights down Jarvis Street back then. And
Yes.
Yep.
McDonald's hardware was still a going concern, and that was
What was it?
McDonald's.
Oh, McDonald's Hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry McDonald, yep.
When I was a kid, I remember a bakery on
Bakery,
Jarvis
right,
Street,
right
a
on Jarvis
barber
Street.
shop on Jarvis Street,
Yep.
your market on the corner down there.
Yep.
I was sent down there often to get hamburger or whatever,
Cigarettes.
cigarettes with a note. yeah.
Wait a minute, I hear your mother laughing over here. I
Well,
don't.
she knows exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, it was small town USA.
Yes, yeah.
Catholic Church was in our front yard. We grew up between the Catholic Church and the Episcopal Church.
You did.
And Sunday
think about
mornings,
it.
we couldn't make a peep until afternoon time because
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
We were like, quiet, everybody, So
And you had a great sort of playground, didn't you, in back of the Corpus Christi Church?
Yeah, that was our
huge big
playground.
parking lot.
we had
yeah.
epic kickball
And
fights back there.
Jim Joe once broke one of the windows in the Catholic Church.
That's
Uh-oh.
actually when the game moved from the front parking lot to the back parking lot.
Oh no. Uh-oh. How'd you do that?
Kicked the ball and it popped a pane out of the stained glass window.
You did.
Yeah.
So what happened?
I had to go tell Father Morris.
Oh, it's Father Morris.
Yeah.
How did that go?
I like to tell the story that he was changing a tire and his hand spun off the jack and the easing. But he was fine. He was. Dad took me over and he said, Dad said we'll pay for it, and he said, don't worry about it. It turned out it was really fortunate. It didn't shatter.
Oh, it just fell
It just
out.
went down and it cracked. So they could put it right back up. So you can still see it. It's there.
No kidding.
Yeah, and you pick it up and there's a crack right through.
I mean, the crack is still there.
It's still there.
I'll be done.
Yeah.
See?
We should all go look.
Yeah, really, really.
Well,
We'll
I just went over the other day and pointed it out to
Oh,
my
did you
wife. I said,
really? Okay. Oh, I think one of the things that was so interesting to me is your paper route.
Yeah.
Now you were I think you had the downtown sandwich. You were the paper route kids.
We Jimmy and I first got it for the Standard Times. I think.
Okay.
And did we deliver in New Bedford the Sunday paper at that time too?
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we did. Right. Okay, we did.
I just
And
So
remember
then,
this was the New Bedford Standard Times.
Yeah.
That came out on Sundays.
Sunday, we
That's
delivered.
back when the
yeah.
Sunday paper was that.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
the Sunday paper is a pamphlet. But
I don't
that
know
was
who
a
we
real-
picked it. Do you remember who we picked the route up from, Mom? Thelma Burke's kids had the route.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we took their route, so we didn't. But I think Stanley had down because when Jimmy and I picked it up, farthest I went was the Georges on the where the old train station was.
Oh, sure.
The George family.
Yes.
That's the farthest I went. I did Cross Street,
Okay.
and that was it. But I didn't do Liberty down, and I didn't do back in the old factory village.
But you
I
sort
think
of
Stanley had
shared,
that,
didn't
if I
you?
remember right.
I mean,
We,
so
we
Jim,
chopped
Jim,
it
you
up
did.
into chunks. And
Yeah, he had some, I had some, and then Jeff started picking up some later.
Oh, then Jeff, yeah. Yeah.
We
Jen
eventually,
finally-
we,
you live it
we
too,
did
right, Jen?
eventually cover the entire village.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
and of
we
course,
we didn't do down below the tracks.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Cross Street and
I did Cross Street. Yeah, but we didn't. Yeah. Oh, you guys, when I
did it till I went to 7th grade.
yeah. Oh, all right. Well, anyway, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, Jen as I remember, it's sort of like you went along and all of you were sort of doing it, and then sort of Jen was sort of the last one to do it. You gave it all to Jen.
She never gets credit for it.
Yeah, well, we'll give her credit right now.
The best place to deliver paper was Franny and George's.
Oh my gosh,
That
yes.
was the best.
And why is that?
George wasn't a talker, but every once in a while he'd just push a cone out the window at me.
He would.
And I'd look at him, "Oh, I don't have any money." He goes, "I didn't tell you to give me money." Just, thank you.
And as I understand it, it really was a business for your family. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you didn't say, each of you didn't save up your money and buy like a bike.
Went
No.
to her.
It went to your mom.
And went
Yeah.
to school clothes
Went
too.
to school
Yeah,
clothes,
and went
right.
for school clothes. I mean, let's face it, you 4 children, you know?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
None of us did 4 kids.
yeah. You sort of learned from that, huh?
Yeah.
So, did you get to know any of the people that you and could you share a couple of those stories?
I felt like a visiting nurse half the time.
Yeah.
I would run down to the post office or to the convenience store to pick up something all the time. Almost every day somebody would ask me to do something. I mean, Reggie Van Buskirk, I had to sit down with him and have a cookie and a conversation.
Yep.
Reggie would tell me stories, and I'd go home, and Dad said, "Well, that's not the way it happened." No, that's not. It's like, all right, well, whatever. That's what Reggie said. But,
Yeah. That's
you
what
know,
Reggie-
but I got to know a lot of them quite well.
And remember, of course, we're talking. People listening will think with the post office. That was the post office at that point was on Java Street.
Right.
Yeah.
And then but even when it moved down, when it moved down to the corner, the pizza places that was. over
Yes,
there for a
it was
while.
still closed.
In town. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, any remembrance you have of any special people that you
The
delivered to?
Dvorsky's were always really nice. They're,
The
you know,
Dvorskys.
on Clayton Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else? The people
All the people that remembered my
Fornia.
grandparents, they were all pretty sweet.
Fournier one time on Main Street. He remember what it was? I think it was $1.10 for the paper for the week, and you collected every week.
Yes.
And he left out a 1935 silver dollar with a dime on top.
Who did this?
Al Fournier.
Oh, he
Right?
did.
Yeah.
Now he was the barber,
Yeah.
again on Java Street, Mr. Fournier. Yes.
Yeah.
You should grab your head and hold it really tight.
Oh, did he?
And I hated that.
When you were cutting your hair?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's where we got our wiffles.
Oh yeah. Well, you always had wiffles back in those days. Yeah.
Not until we finally stopped getting wiffles after we were able to push back. Because all the kids were wearing their hair longer.
Yes.
Dad had a wiffle and all that stuff, so we started. But all the other kids, we were having wiffles, and the kids were wearing hair long because the things had changed.
Yeah.
So we started like, come on, Dad, we don't need that anymore.
No. This has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because we sort of got everybody to talk, I believe, which is wonderful, and got you in the video. Before we leave, I do want to ask you, Jeff. You've written a book. You've written a story about growing up, not just a story, a book about growing up in Sandwich.
The Java Street Chronicles.
And it's called the Java Street Chronicles.
Yeah. And someone might publish it one day. We'll never know.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
I will know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember you had a peach tree at the corner of your house.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes, we did.
we had many of those peaches. They were delicious.
So you delivered to our house?
I did.
He did, but I mean,
but you- yeah.
it's Java Street.
But
I
we
mean,
knew
you-
each other, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
Somebody said you can peck them, so we.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
had peach. Yeah, that
Well,
was.
your mother was always so nice anyway.
Yeah, she
so.
was. She was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you tell us, we're just about, so I don't mean to rush you, but I do. Could you share one story from your book that you've written?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the story that came to mind right away when you asked about that was when Joe, Jim, and I and a summer kid who grew up on Main Street named Richard Sullivan. I know you know who they are.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
We'd always go to Peter Cook's land and just get into trouble and try to hide from Peter Cook. And,
Now, could you tell us for people, where was Peter Cook's land?
So Peter Cook's land is sort of, it borders Champond and Upper Champond at the edge of the village, sort of in the outskirts on up Route 130.
Okay.
And one day we happened upon what was clearly, looking back at it now, an old Christmas tree farm. But we had convinced ourselves that it had been abandoned. Absent of any evidence, we just decided that it was
Absence
abandoned.
of any evidence, yes.
And we decided for our clubhouse, which was the hayloft of the carriage house connected to the Sullivan's house on Main Street, that we wanted to have a Christmas tree from there for that Christmas.
Ah.
So one day, right before Christmas, we borrowed a bow saw from our garage, Dad's bow saw, and other implements of torture, and went into Peter Cook's land and found a tree. Now, the finding of the tree was problematic in the sense that Joe wanted this one tree that was clearly, it was a horrible tree. It was a diseased, malformed tree that we try to convince him, but when Joe gets his heart set on something, you cannot tell him otherwise.
Okay.
Early sustainability effort. Tried to be
Yes.
low
Yes.
impact.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
He thought it was like we would imbue it with our Christmas spirit, and
Yeah.
just like Charlie Brown, it would
Yeah,
be.
it was.
You'd
So-
make it better.
So we that was our tree. We took that tree down, and we realized that we had gotten into Peter Cook's land by working our way through prickers and briars and jumping over fences. We couldn't do
We
that
never
now with
went
the
down a road. We never
But
went
now
in.
you had the tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
I had to
So
drive
we
it out.
walked right down the tack factory, the old tack factory road,
Sure.
right down Grove Street, right through the middle of the town. And my memory, because remember the what's it called? The First Church of Christ used to have a Christmas bazaar every year. They
Yes.
people would have made up crafts, that kind of thing. We walked past that. People are waving to us, and we've got our stolen tree that we. And we come home and we have lunch, and Mom has made lunch for us, and we're telling her the story of the clubhouse Christmas tree. And you've met my mother; she's a bright woman. She knows that, how did we get this Christmas tree? But what she doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
What she wants is a Christmas tree of her own. She was a Christmas fanatic, is still a Christmas fanatic, and so sent us out to get her another tree. She didn't want to know where it came from.
Ignorance is bliss.
She just
Yes,
wanted
there you go.
another tree.
Yeah.
So we're like, you got to be kidding me. We've been given permission
Yeah.
to do it again. And so later on that afternoon, the whole thing, and this is, Christmas back in Sandwich back then was magical.
It was.
If only because of the lights that the Lions Club put up. It just made this glow in town. And in my memory, we're carrying the tree home under the glow of the Christmas lights, the net that hung over Jarvis Street.
It just gets ridiculous, but
It was, but it really.
No, I know, but it was so storybook, silly, but
The town was then.
Yeah.
It truly was.
So that's
Well,
one of the stories. in
there's
the
one of the
book.
stories. And we'll look for this book to be published at some point because Jeff has allowed me to read it, and it's great. And I hope someday that you are able to do that. Well, we're going to call it a day.
Thank you.
This has been wonderful. And if SCTV will allow us, I'm going to ask, they don't have microphones on, but Jen and Mary to come back just for a say goodbye. This has been a wonderful time. And we do these videos. Yeah, it's great for now, but we always think, oh gosh, maybe 50 years from now, someone will be
right.
looking at this. Your great-great-grandchildren, and it's important,
Oh, it is.
that we have things like this. So here is the Govoni family. Thank you so much. It's been a privilege.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Bye-bye.